Welcome back to the Gamers. I'm so happy to be giving you more Star Citizen content here. It's been a while. Apologies for that. As many of you have watched, I am having some real life issues, and I thank everybody who's given well wishes and prayers for my father. You can check that video out there. I'm doing more vlog style videos. I think it's great that you guys are also interested. Thank you very much to you. Now, the Star Citizen Citizencon, we've all been waiting for this, like a big bang, like a nerdgasm waiting to explode.
Don't pull it out. I like it where it is.
3.
Oh wow! Okay. Fuck your ball juice!
Oh, I walked right into that one, literally.
And I am so jelly. There's so much jelly on the toasties that I couldn't go to CitizenCon out in LA, where I was actually born. I'm seeing all the YouTubers and streamers taking pictures. Oh, I'm at CitizenCon. I'm having a great time. And I'm just like jelly, 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 everywhere jelly. Huge props to those who did visit and created great content for all of us to watch. I had a great time really soaking it all up. I'm really playing catch up here, and I think our community, one of the best damn communities in the world, coming back here, wanting to hear my opinions on CitizenCon and all my SC content and other content here that I produce on the channel. I really do thank you. And that's the same thing that they started out with, which was nice to see Chris kind of give a nod and Sandy give a nod back to the community. I mean, they do it occasionally, but this one really focused on the fact the first 30 or so minutes of CitizenCon was really devoted to us. It was nice that they were focusing on us and showcasing us and saying, you know, you guys are really important to the cause, and we are. It feels like a giant journey that we're all on. I've only been on this for 2 years. There's been people that have been on this longer. There's new citizens that have just joined the crowd. It's nice. It literally feels like Battlestar Galactica. We're all on the ship. We're trying to survive. Chris is the admiral, and Sandy's like Starbuck.
Good morning, Starbuck. What do you hear?
Nothing but the rain.
Grab your gun and bring in the cat.
Boom, boom, boom.
It's a wonderful experience because you really do get this like camaraderie feeling, everybody all in, all for one. But I still want to bring that realism. I still want to bring critical thinking into this, and that's why I think we do have people coming back here to check out my content, because I'm not all roses and, you know, super happy. I do have some pretty harsh critiques on CitizenCon, as well as, you know, some good things too. But that's why I like that you come back here to hear my viewpoints. Maybe they don't agree with yours, but I respect the fact that you always have this great dialogue with me down in the comments, and I thank my community for being so intelligent and having great discussion down below. Chris reaffirms this community feeling. I really felt it was heartfelt. It wasn't like a sales pitch, you know. He did bring in the Polaris, and I'll talk about that later in the video. It didn't get that sales pitchy. Thing is that we do back the game. We are important to the game. We're instrumental in its continuing forward. The profit of the corporation is SIG. They are a business. They do have to make money, and if they don't make money, the game dies. We did talk about, you know, what's going on within SIG in this video here. There was an article recently that did an inside review of SIG. I thought it was well written. I thought it was a little bit biased. You guys check that out. But I like how Chris evolved the community talk into the tools that are going to be released into the community. Now, this was very interesting as I watched both the video finished on Star Citizen's YouTube site and Twitch, which showed the actual chat, and I saw a very big divergence of kind of negativity, kind of toxic people in the chat saying, oh, the community tools aren't that big a deal. What is this? This is, you know, people falling asleep, boring, which is representative of more of a toxic kind of community. People coming in not too familiar with the game, wanting the shine and the super graphics, and I understand that, but I thought it was a bit disrespectful. I don't want to say that all the things that I saw on Twitch were toxic, but I can tell you at least 80 to 90% of what was written versus reactions to audience was a little bit upsetting to me. Chris had basically said, I'm going to introduce to you two important men that are creating something I think very special. It was Charlie Erskine, the publishing director, and Benoit, the SC web platform designer. And what they are really designing for us is something I think very special. Now, it's web-based, so I kind of maybe have a little issue with that. But this is a tool in which it will have the following features. It will give you private messaging and chat. It will be able to see your online friends and your corp friends when they're online, when they aren't. You can message them through this. Notifications and alert system, which I thought was very cool. Being able to actually give you in-game events notified to your phone. You're going to have the ability to build your own chat lobbies, create your own forums, voice out of game transmissions. Also has a very cool search feature, which currently on the RSI website, I think their search is broken. They need to look at that, and that's why they're creating what they're calling Spectrum. This is supposedly going to be released in a few weeks. It reminds me of kind of like a mesh of Reddit, Discord. It's like Discord with forums, basically. You know, that's what it reminds me of. They took all the best features of all the platforms and put it on one. Again, creating their own communication system and saying, "Oh, screw it, we're not even going to worry about this." And how smart of a move is that to bring people to that communications forum? But like I said, again, this is for people who are oriented towards creating organizations, people that are really trying to build something, you know, bring people together. And as somebody who does that as a community guru here, I'm telling you right now, I thought that Spectrum was a very wonderful platform, and I will be using it. After the talk of the community, it kind of went back into like, here's how you can support the community, and the talks then evolved from Spectrum into the Polaris cinematic, you know, basically looking at the UEE and how the Polaris is going to be this wonderful Corvette, and look at it and, oh, it's so good. And that's, you know, then I saw Twitch chat light up, and it's really fun. Like new ship sales, new concept sales. I'm kind of mixed about it. I understand this is the way they're funding their game. At the same time, I'm so for pushing content related, you know, like actual design features of the in-game assets to just produce the planets and the places and all the elements that are needed, that they did actually talk about. Very hyped to get to that point. Now, when we're talking about the Polaris at $750 currently, you can earn it in game. Chris did say it was the best sales day that they had ever had, which I found really wow. There must have been a lot of people who bought the Polaris. And what if we have all Corvettes in the game? You know, like what? Everybody's flying a Polaris everywhere. Now that we know the NPC system, that you'll be able to actually hire or lease out AI to help you with aspects of your ship, essentially letting you fly a large Corvette all on your own. We discussed this in the past. I don't think that's a smart move, but you could. And it looks like a lot of people bought the Polaris. It makes me a little concerned, like, okay, is this actually a pay-to-win model? If you really think about it at its core, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of people who are gonna argue with me on this one, and it's fine. That's why you're here. But like, if they really had the best sales day that they had ever had in the existence of their funding, then you have to imagine that a lot of Corvettes were bought. And then it made me think of like the Eve model, and if this is actually going to be like a pay-to-win model. And for those people that say, oh, don't worry about it, you can earn it in game, I did the calculations. You can currently on RSI buy UEC. So you can take your real life money and convert it into UEC. $1 equals 1,000 UEC. You can take $1 of your real life money, convert it into 1,000 credits if you wanted to, making it a pay to win model if they still have that after the game is released. Also highly debated if that's actually going to still be there. I think it will be, because they're still going to need the funding to continue to run as a profitable organization. Again, we have talked about this in the past, so I will not get too in depth about it. But essentially what that means is that the Polaris is going to be 750,000 credits in game. Now, how easy is it going to make 750,000 credits in game? I think people are going to find that it will probably be very hard to get to that level. In order to get that kind of cash, I think that you're going to have to grind for quite a bit. But that is also something that is debatable. How hard is it going to be to make money in Star Citizen? There are going to be people who are going to be traders or miners or people who own organizations that are going to find it very easy to get to that 750,000 credit level. Working together, I think, will get you to that level much, much faster, which is really, I think, promoting human interaction within the game, which we all know I'm pro human and human. I'm not a big guy when it comes to like AI and NPC. I kind of like this to be more human evolved and human evolution. We talk about 90-10 split. We've talked about this till we're blue in the face, so you guys can check out my prior content for those types of discussions. But I think that this actually will inspire a lot more human interaction, which is great. So, you know, all in all, I think that, you know, SIG has to focus on continuing to making revenue to function as an organization. And this is why you're going to continue to see concept sales. I mean, you're going to always see concept sales. You're always going to see ship sales. You're just going to have that because it's the only way they're going to be able to continue to move forward. If you're somebody who's a supporter of the game, you understand that, and you're going to back it. I like the Polaris. I'm kind of split because I still love the Idris, but you guys let me know which one you like below better. We then had a Squadron 42 update within the next section of Citizencon, and you can see all the details shown here. There was a really cool thing that he had mentioned during this was that the next generation launcher, oh my god, I'm really happy about this news. The next generation launcher will have a new patcher that won't be downloading gigabytes of data. Oh my god. Now the nerdgasm, that news, it was a little small blurb, but when I heard that, I don't know how many people caught that. That is a big deal because a lot of people don't have the time to continue to download these huge gigabytes of data. It takes them, it takes me a long time. Currently with my internet connection, it takes me, every time they update, it takes me at least 10 hours, which is ridiculous. I have to literally put it on at night, go to sleep, and when I wake up, sometimes it's still downloading. So that's actually a really nice announcement. He also announced that they're not going to be having a new release every single month like we've all been accustomed to. So that will generate questions that I will be asking down the road in this particular video. We'll talk about that later as we talk about the roadmap to Star Citizen and how soon do I think it's going to be before we actually get the finished product. In Squadron 42 talks, he also talked about cast members who are a surprise. I mean, I don't know how you can get more popular than the actors that are currently in it, but like maybe there's more famous names. I don't know, but that's kind of cool. I'm wondering who I think it would be cool if it was Clive Owen. Clive Owen was the guy that was in Privateer, and Privateer actually made him into the actor that he is today. Privateer was one of his first gigs, and Chris was in the lead of that. So I think it'd be cool if I saw Clive Owen in it, old Privateer days, coming back to haunt me. Then we started talking about the tech hurdles. This is where I'm going to start being really critical here, and this is, I speak my mind. But it was a pretty damn big list. So the tech hurdles were very huge. Pathfinding logic, basically talking about everything situated in the game having its own functioning, planets revolving around the sun, planets rotating as they revolve, items in assets in the game such as ships that are AI and NPC related, being where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to do. Also the chaotic events that happen within the organized scheduled type of events, which are us moving around in this world. Pathfinding logic is a very big deal. They're having issues with it. Full animation integration, where they're talking about very smooth linear scenes where you can look at people's faces as you're walking three-dimensionally and see that they're talking, see that they're blinking. There's no stuttering. Everything looks, like bang, dead on. You don't see anything that would break immersion. That's a big deal. Improved combat logic. Of course, we're talking about AI attacking you. You don't want the AI to be going all over the place or doing something that is very predictable, because then it just does not have that fun quality to play the game, especially in Squadron 42, as it's going to be you against the AI. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. Improved combat logic, mission system integration, and enhanced flight AI. What is this? This is everything. This is everything that makes up this game, and these are the tech hurdles that they have. That's just, personally, to me at this point, not acceptable that they've got these types of issues. They say it's in gray box now, but if it's so, if it is in gray box, I imagine I don't believe it. I don't believe that it can be in gray box form, even at that level with these problems. So something is not being told to us. I think something's actually being covered up a little bit. We'll see as time continues on. This definitely will be pushing back the date of Squadron 42, and of course the dates for Star Citizen do get pushed back even further, making us, that initial feeling like, oh wow, can't wait to 3.0, can't wait to 3.0. Well, it's going to be a long time to 3.0, so we're going to have to settle in and buckle up, which I can do. But can other people do this? And I think it's the reason why I pushed the date back of Squadron 42 from what I thought was going to be the end of 2017 well into 2018. I mean, they're kind of like the word on the street is, oh, it's going to be the beginning of 2017. But I think it's actually going to be pushed into well into 2017, perhaps the end of 2017, because there was no Squadron 42 missions shown. You know, that was the big deal. We were under the impression, the rumor is that we were going to get the Squadron 42 mission shown. Now, a lot of people are upset about this. I was slightly peeved by it. But again, you saw a lot of people in the Twitch audience who were upset about this versus the audience that seemed to be okay with it because, you know, if you believe in it in this game like I do and like many of the others that were actually at Citizencon, you're this behind the project. You don't want to see it fail at this point because you are in a Battlestar Galactica mode where you want to survive. You have to beat the Cylons. You're in it. But Chris talks about he wants to make the game right. Do you know that was really important to hear? It never gets dull for me to hear that Chris just wants to make the game right. When I hear him say that, I understand it. He doesn't think it's ready at this point, but it did give me concerns because it made me think, well, are we concerned anymore about the funders, the backers from, 2012? Those that are actually chagrined, they feel like they've been burned. Are we concerned about people in the present tense where they want to have at least a core of a game that can have DLC added to it later so that they just can play it? I see a game I log into. It's a core. I feel it is. Some people don't. And that's what we're talking about. More people want a more finished game that will have DLC content added to it later. But that's essentially what they're doing now. I don't think people are realizing that it's here and the DLC content will be added. It's the difference between watching a cake bake in an oven forever, making sure that it's not going to burn. I mean, that's what we got to worry about. Taking the cake out, putting the icing on, or taking a raw cake out and then just adding so much icing on top that it's not even a cake. It's just you don't even know what it is. So, those are your two forms of looking at it when you're talking about making this game. What I'm worried about is that you're going to have a lot of people that are just like, screw it, I'm done with it. I've put my money in it. And I'm not getting what I want. I want what I'm seeing, and I don't want the pre-creep feature. I don't want to continue to feel like I'm being drugged around like, here's a carrot. You just keep on walking and you're going to get that carrot, and you'll never get the carrot, because that's kind of the format that they've got right now. They've got to kind of squash this publicly. The promotional people within SIG have to change people's perceptions about the way in which they're releasing content. I think they're doing it on their YouTube channel. They're showing people more daily content. The more inside that they get, the more that they show, I think the better that the perception will get. You're seeing that, which is one of the reasons why many people were disappointed with Citizencon 2016, is they saw basically everything that they have been seeing on Around the Verse and on their YouTube station, all the information they've been releasing. It's because of the updates, it's because of the things that they've been doing recently that a lot of people felt disappointed in Citizencon because they wanted like even more of a blast, but they're already getting it. And that's kind of like a good point. That's good seeing that that's happening, because you're so used to seeing now the transparency and the content that they're releasing, that even when 2016 Citizencon comes out, you're not as surprised because you've already seen a lot of it. Now let's talk about the surprises. Let's talk about the cool stuff. We're going to talk about the roadmap ahead. What Chris is talking about as far as planning and how he's going to implement the stages of the next updates of Star Citizen. So Star Marine, which we're all really looking forward to in 2.6. I mean, I've been waiting for Star Marine for a very long time. The current, way of shooting, and I'm not too happy with it. It's still a little bit sketchy. The movement's still a little bit sloppy. The effects really aren't there for me yet. And I think they really need to work on that. There was no date mentioned on any of these other than Chris saying that each patch or each update will generally take 2 to 3 months for the update, which really puts us out quite far when you talk about this roadmap. 2.6 Star Marine, 3.0 trading. Oh, nerdgasm. The cargo system will definitely take effect in 3.0. I know a lot of us are looking forward to 3.0. 3.1 mining. Whoa. Okay, so now we're at 2.6 going to 3.1. If every one of these, just from 2.6 to 3.1, says 2 to 3 months per update, we're talking about quite a long time. Personally, I think it's going to take a while just to get to 3.0. In fact, I think it's going to take quite some time. 2.6 is going to take a while to come out. I see a lot of hurdles with 2.6. As we saw in Squadron 42, they had some issues. 2.6 deals in Star Marine. This is one of their biggest hurdles that they've ever had. They've been trying to push Star Marine out forever without success, and it looking to perfection to the way Chris likes it. And 2.6 is a big deal. I think then you're going to see a 2.6 to 3.0 buffer time where you're going to have a just as bigger deal trying to get other gameplay elements into the PU. So 2.6 3.0, you know, us getting to 3.0 is going to take a lot longer than people initially suspected. They had that 3.0 hype. They wanted to get there. They thought it was going to come tomorrow. And I think that's going to be pushed out quite some bit. Probably until next year. Like, really, I think it's even to 3.0 to 4.0 is going to take a hell of a long time, depending upon how much money is given by the backers to SIG. The more money, obviously, the faster everything's going to go. But that all depends upon backers and the revenue they're making as a company. But I think the timescale has just kind of elongated to the point where, like, people have to really settle in now. This is kind of the sit in and settle in phase. It's going to take some time, and they got that another dose of reality after the hype. So it's always like these hype bombs, and then like boom. Now I gotta like sit here and wait for this all to happen. So that's where you're going to get a lot of those naysayers coming right back in the ball game. There's going to be a lot more kind of trolling going around here. It's just kind of the process of how this is done. But you just have to sit in, buckle up, and believe. I think that it could take a while. Am I upset about it? Slightly. But I'm understanding of the process, and I'm okay with waiting for it. Now, 3.2 salvage, 3.3 farming. And we talk about survival, and you can check out this video. We talked about survival. It's a big aspect of the game that we talk about here on the game. Survival is huge. You know, like, you know, if you're on these planets and you're down there and you're away from any help, we're going to be seeing Procedural Planets version 2. I'm going to be showing you that. And when you get down on the planet and you realize while you're watching what I'm going to be showing you next, just how big these planets are, you really got to think about, you know, needing more than just air. Some environments, as this one that you're about to see, have air on them, and you're able to travel around. What if you're not able to get back to your ship? What if somebody comes down during a mission, blows up your ship? What if you're actually stranded on the planet? You have air, you have that, but you don't have food, and food is not an essential item for surviving. Again, we talk about survival. I think it is unrealistic and breaks the immersion if you do not need the food. And again, we go back to 3.3 and farming. Farming, why do we need to farm? Well, right now it's strictly for just AI missions. You know, it has no economic real purpose other than for missions. I think it would give food and people who wanted to grow food much more purpose if we needed the food, if we needed to eat, based upon long duration timers. And I'm talking about 30 to 60 days at a time, and that's with in-game logged time. I think that would be more than sufficient. It wouldn't push us to log into the game if real life issues occurred. It would give us the time needed and still give benefits to those that wanted to sell food, because now it's more of a needed economical item. I think that should really be looked at by SIG. It's something that they have to think about. They really have to give more purpose to food. And, you know, just farming and growing it for mission's sake is going to get flat real fast. I want people to understand that. 4.0, we're talking about multiple systems and exploration. So finally, by 4.0, exploration comes into the mix, talking about scanners. We've seen it on the most recent around the verses about the scanner systems that there's just now starting to develop here in September and October 2016. I think exploration being one of the larger reasons why people are playing the game, actually stated by Chris that 67% of people are actually wanting to play the game just to look around. I had a really good talk with EMP we were talking about, and Matt, a couple nights ago, playing League of Legends, about exploration and how we were wondering they were going to implement it, you know, whether the spawns would be enough to keep explorers satiated. There were only 100 systems. Most people wanted to find like huge planets and big things that made them feel grandiose and godlike complexes. But like you're also going to have, I think, enough spawn points that broker data information, talking about the Herald, talking about data broker information brokers that can sell that information in that particular type of Drake style ship. You know, I think that there will be enough spawn points to keep people interested in a kind of exploration type of economy where they're going around, they're finding these things. It doesn't get boring. Ore fields, salvage ships, data boxes, you know, all these different types of pieces to the puzzle that will give exploration longevity and sustainability. So I think that exploration being at the 4.0 stage is going to be way down the road. I would actually be very impressed if by the end of next year we're at 4.0. I think it's going to be a big push to get to 4.0 by next year. So again, we're talking about more time added on. Obviously, this is all indicative of how many people are actually supporting the game and putting money into it. I think the more people are buying into the game and funding the game, the faster we'll get there. So let's all push for that and get as many people as we can into Citizenry, into Star Citizen. And now let's get into procedural planets. Wow, this is a long video. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I'm glad that you're still here. Hardcore members, thank you, gamers. Thanks, you citizens. But in the video, here's some of the things that I noticed and some of the things I was concerned about. You saw temperate zones and climate. Now, how cool was that? You saw storms. All right. You know, I snipped that video in certain parts. I just put the important parts in. The longer video is actually on Star Citizen's YouTube channel. I'm sure everybody's, you know, seen it, or many people up to this point. But I want to talk about the temperate zones and the climate and the weather. You know, we had a video that we talked about this, and a lot of people debated me that there will not be dynamic weather. Yes, there is. There's going to be temperate zones as well. We saw on the planet that there were on that particular one. There were deserts and mountains with snow on them. There was a sandstorm that was actually realistically generated by the planet itself through what we talked about on the last video, the revolution, the distance from the sun, you know, the atmosphere, the general terrain. It was actual real weather. Now, that whether that was actually the real weather that we saw or generated just for show, I don't know. But I do know this, it is planned to be that way. So for people that were naysayers in the past video, I told you so. And that is really a big confirmation in that video. That was more exciting than anything else when I saw that. Really, that was. We also saw missions on planets. It was cool to see a mission on the planet, the distress speak in there, the amount of distance it took on the planet that was procedurally generated. That was a very, very cool experience. We saw turbulence. The dynamic music system was actually very different from some of the other stuff that I saw. I liked it. I really like what they're doing with their music system, and I agree with Chris that it is a main factor in really immersing you into a game. Kudos to everybody developing that portion of the content for Star Citizen. I respect you guys. The landing compression on the gear. Okay, that was kind of cool when you saw the compression, but I still want to see more. I really, I still think the landing is sloppy. I really think they need to work on the landing still. It is very, very sloppy. I saw locker use. That was cool. You can't wear your armor. Wearing your armor in the seat will not work. You can't sit down with your armor in the seat piloting the plane. You have to get out. You have to go to your locker. You got to equip the items that you store in your locker. How sweet is that? And then we saw the rover being used. That was very cool to see that the Constellation had the rover fit inside of it. Everything was functioning. It came out. It worked. I think that the rover needs some work. It was really cool looking, but I think the physics, again, we get into the physics of character movement, physics of vehicles. They still need to work on it. It was a little jittery for me, but overall it was nice to see those assets being used in game. I thought that the rovering around on the planet was still a little bit sloppy, needs some work. but it's nice to see that the assets are there and still being used, so they can always improve upon that. The sandworm, yes, the sandworm, very Dune. But wow, it made me think about something that we didn't talk about in the environment and weather video, which is actual species on planets. You know, like, I'm not quite sure how they're going to go about this aspect of the game. This gets me a little bit doubtful. I don't know how they're going to generate species on planets, whether they're just going to design them into the game in certain locations, if they're going to be random. They've got a lot of work they've admitted to do in that respect, and that seems like that's going to be a huge monumental task, and that is an aspect of the game that I had previously not even thought about, that was nice to see in the game, but then made me have a lot more questions as to, you know, just how many species are going to be on all these different planets. How are they going to react to you? What kind of AI are they going to put into the species? Obviously, it looks as if some of them are going to be hostile, and how are you going to deal with them? You know, so I think that a little bit more information has to be released by SIG in that terms. And then I also worry about mission redundancy and spawn locations of missions and the interference from outside players. And, you know, we all know the scale is huge. We all know that this is a very large area. We're talking about a planet, but we're also talking about a very large player base. So, for instance, I'm landing down on a planet. People are still going to be able to see me, you know, in their instances landing on the planet. Chris says eventually he wants us to be all one server side experience, to where everybody who's there is experiencing the same thing. It's not going to be there for a long time, but eventually when we get to that end goal, I'm worried about mission redundancy, spawn locations, and the interference from human players while missioning can really screw you up. So I want to know how they're going to be handling that. I will be looking into that in future videos. We're just kind of brushing over briefly what was talked about. Character movement, again, a big deal for me. Vehicle physics and combat need work. You know, they showed the sniping, they showed the takedown. While I thought those were cool, I still thought they looked a little sloppy to me. It just makes me wonder how much time it will take to 2.6, you know, after seeing that, because it still looks unfinished to me. They need to work on a lot of the effects when it comes to combat. They need to work on the fluidity of character movements, and I still think they have a lot of work to do, which makes me concerned about the 2.6 release of Star Marine. And I think if they push too soon and you're seeing the same type of reaction from the character, you know, from the characters as you're playing them, you're going to see kind of a drop of interest. So they got to bring it out right. They got to make it fluid. They got to make it look better than it currently is. At 156, Chris introduces Sean Tracy, and he talks about something that I was very interested in: the environment, the map editor that they use. He said that the CryEngine was useful for them, but the terrain system had to be rewritten completely, which had to be a huge project. And we did see real-time generation of editing of planets, which was very, very cool, as the planet was existing in real time. The level of scale from centimeters to AUs, you know, from micro to macro editors. It was very cool to see a procedurally automatic editor doing terrain types, changing terrain types. Like, you want mountains, here's your mountain macro tool. Boom, gonna put some mountains. You want a plain, boom, there you go, there's a plain. You want desert, boom, there you go. Like, you just select the terrain type, the area you wish it to affect, and then it automatically edits it procedurally, which I thought a very cool and useful tool. It had to take some time to create that. They can also go down to the very minuscule small pebble, you know, when it comes to the editing. So they can go all macro to very small. Gives the designers and the artists a hell of a lot of control, you know, for the imaginations that they have. I think that would be such a fun thing to do. I would love to be involved in that. I am so into that, and it was really fun to see that in the game. The terrain types were exotic as well. They showed sulfur lakes, which again, that was really exciting, gave me chills. And just to see that they could create like sulfur lakes, and to see the sun setting and going through the atmosphere in real time, cascading the light the correct way. I mean, it's phenomenal to me that they've done this. You know, that needs to be talked about. Everybody just sat there and really didn't get what was going on. But the planets were actually rotating. And the planet was actually revolving around the sun. A real in-game sunset on an exotic, toxic planet. It's really happening. It's really, the speed, the revolution, the rotation, everything is legit. It's actually a night cycle. It's actually a day cycle. It's actually changing the way that the planet looks and feels. Wow, that is so big. And then it was cool to see it like zoom back out, and they went to the Polaris, and he said, okay, enough. But all in all, those are my viewpoints, my concerns, my worries. Thanks everybody for watching here on To Games. I super appreciate you coming back here. More vlogs on the way, more content on the way, more best decks, more. We're working on the stream to get the stream back up and going. We could definitely use your help. Financially, it would be very much appreciated. And thank you so much for sticking with me all. The giveaway for the constellations happening sometime in November. We need to get the stream fixed before we have that. And don't worry, guys, I'm going to keep at it. I know a lot of things are happening to me in real life, but I really, really appreciate you guys. Like, I don't think you understand. Obviously, a lot of you do. Thank you so much. But for those that are still questioning it, you guys mean everything to me. I will always make sure that I keep good on my promises. And I apologize that this video is one day late. But as I said, lots of real life stuff going on. And thanks for returning here to Games. As always, I will see you on the next vid.
Thank you.